Vienna from Wandering Vienna, and Vienna as in the city, not the sausage. I'm 14 and I've been to 20 countries, and I feel like nobody really talks about what travel actually does for you on the inside. Like, not just, oh, I went here and it was pretty, like, what it actually does to your brain and who you are. That's what this video is, just me talking about it. Give me just 10 minutes. Hi, I'm sitting in my living room, I'm 14, and I've traveled to a lot of places. India, Morocco, Mexico, Italy, Nepal, Argentina, and a bunch of others. And I know some people hear that and they think, that must be nice. And yeah, it is. I'm not going to pretend it's not. But the stuff I want to talk about isn't really about the places themselves. It's more about what happened to me because of going to those places. I'm a different person than I was before I started traveling, and I've been trying to figure out how to explain that in a way that doesn't sound weird or corny. So I'm going to talk through it, and hopefully it makes sense. Cool? Let's go. Alright, so food. I know food sounds like the most basic place to start, but just stay with me because it goes somewhere. So we were in Mexico City and it was like late at night and we found this little taco stand on a corner and there's a line of people there. Locals and my mom and I just kind of got in line and figured it out. Nobody spoke English, we didn't speak much Spanish, and we just kind of pointed at stuff and hoped for the best. And it was honestly some of the best food I've ever had in my life. And that kept happening everywhere. Like, I'd be somewhere completely new, no idea what anything on the menu was, and I'd just go for it. And almost every time, it ended up being really good. But here's the thing, it stopped being about the food pretty quickly. Like, yeah, the food was amazing, but what I actually started noticing was like, food is how people show you who they are in a way. Every place we went had its own thing. What they eat, when they eat, and how they eat together. It was always different. And once I started paying attention to that, it made me actually curious about people instead of just being like, oh, cool different food. It made me want to understand why things were the way they were, which I guess is kind of the whole thing with travel in general. So, Morocco. This one I think about a lot. Morocco was different from anywhere I've been before. Like, everything about it was different. The way it looked, the sounds, the smells in the markets, all of it. But the thing that really got me was the prayers. So in Morocco, a vast majority of the people are Muslim, and prayer is just like part of the day. Like during the day, you'll hear the call to prayer from the mosques, and people just stop what they're doing and pray, right there in the middle of their day. And I'm standing there watching it happen, and I'm just like, I've heard about the Islamic religion before. Like, I knew what it was, I knew some basic stuff about it, but I've never seen it firsthand like this. I've never seen it just be a normal part of someone's everyday life. And watching it happen in real life was just completely different from anything I could have learned from a book or in class. Like, it wasn't weird or scary or whatever, it was just people doing something that mattered to them every day, built into their whole routine. That made me think about it in a different way. It went from just being informational in my head to being something I actually understood a little. That's kind of what travel does. It takes things you've heard about and makes them real. So, Mumbai, India. This one genuinely kind of messed with my head in a way. We were at the beach, nice day, it was warm out, and I looked to one of the sides, and there was these huge modern buildings, like really impressive. Big, shiny, the kind of thing you'd see in any major city. And then, looking the other way, there were slums, right there on the same beach, same view. I just stood there for a second because I didn't know how to look at both of those things at the same time. Like, how does fancy buildings and slums next to each other happen? And I didn't have an answer, and I still don't fully. But that image just stayed with me and made me start thinking about stuff I'd never really thought about before. Like how different people's lives are depending on where they're born, and how much I take for granted, and how the world is a lot more complicated than it looks from where I grew up. You can read about stuff like that. You can watch videos about it, but standing there and actually seeing it, it just hits different. Like it actually hits you in a way that reading about it doesn't. I think that's the stuff that actually changes how you see things. So, this might sound a little random, but I'd like to talk about my mom for a second. So, traveling together, like actually traveling, not just being in the same hotel, you see a totally different side of someone. Because things don't always go right. You get lost, you can't figure out the train schedule, you end up wandering around at midnight trying to find the place you're supposed to be staying. And in those moments, you kind of just have to figure it out together. Some of the best conversations I've had with my mom happened on long train rides, sitting at a restaurant, with no Wi Fi, nothing to do, and we just end up talking. Like, actually talking about real stuff. And I'd find out things about her that I never knew before. And she'd see me handle things, like figure things out, make decisions, deal with situations that I don't think she'd ever see me do at home. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you're somewhere new and a little out of your comfort zone with someone, all the normal, everyday stuff kind of goes away. You're not just a mom and a kid doing the same routine, you're two people trying to navigate something together. And that built something between us that I don't think would have happened just from being home all the time. Wandering around random streets at night in cities we barely knew ended up being some of my favorite memories. Even the moments where things went wrong kind of became the best parts. So I have my own spending money when we travel. Money I actually earned. And being in those places like street markets, flea markets, and art markets, you have to actually make choices about what you spend it on. Like in Morocco, there are these markets with all this stuff jewelry, art, clothing, all kinds of things. And it all looks cool, and you want everything, but you only have so much money. And I started asking myself this: is this actually worth it? Not just, do I want it, but like, I worked to earn this money. Is this thing worth the hours I put in to have it? And that changed how I thought about spending completely. It made me way more intentional about it. I also got better at knowing when to ask my mom for help versus when to just handle something myself. Like figuring out when a situation is something I can deal with on my own and when I actually need backup. That sounds simple, but it took me a while to get really good at it. And doing all that with real money in real situations, not just like a homework problem about budgeting, actually taught me stuff. Like, I learned it because it was real. Travel actually made me care about school more too. So, we went to Italy, and I got to walk around and see all this old stuff ruins, building, artwork, just existing in real life right there. And then I got back to school and we started doing the Roman Empire in class, and I already had pictures in my head. I'd been to the places where the stuff happened, and it made class so much more interesting. Like, I actually wanted to know more because I had something real to connect it to. Same thing with Morocco. When Islamic culture and history comes up in school now, I'm not just reading words, I have an actual memory attached to it. I know what the call to prayer sounds like. I've walked through those markets. It just makes everything stick better. Like it goes from being something you memorized to something you actually know. I'm not saying you have to travel to do good in school or whatever, but it helped me in a way that I wasn't expecting. So, that's the whole thing. I'm 14, I've been to 20 countries, and I really don't have everything figured out, but I see things differently than I did before. I don't just think about everything from the American way anymore, or from just the way I grew up. I've got more ways of looking at things now, more perspective, and that's what made me feel like I understood the world a little better. And I understand myself a little better too. And my opinions feel like mine now, not just stuff I picked up from around me without thinking about it. Every place gave me something different, and I'm really grateful for that. If you've been somewhere that changed how you think about something, even somewhere close, drop it in the comments. I want to know. If you're new here, subscribe and make sure to like this video. I'll be back, and make sure to come back to Wandering Vienna because there's always more to explore. Bye!